Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. Let's see who's on the stream tonight. Wow, we're over 200 viewers. That's fantastic. Remember to smash that like button or tap that like button. So we have Jane. Great to see you, Jane. We have Sammy Seal. Great to see you, Sammy. Seabolt. Great to see you. Enzo the God. Great to have you on once again, Enzo. We have Killer. Great to have you on moderating once again, Killer. Anonymous. Great to see you. We have Linan, great to have you on. Hope you're well. We have Super, great to see you. Who else have we got? Jean T, great to have you on. Antoci Martha, great to have you on. Martha Antoci, Italian it sounds. We have Yoni, great to see you. Riel, great to have you on. Dano, great to have you on once again. Draconic, great to see you. John O'Sullivan, great to have you on. We have Glasgow Case, great to see you. I wanted to be here where the cool kids are and hang out there until I found them though. We have, who else have we got? Joe, great to see you. Tam, just don't want to repeat the same names. We have Uli Kadluga, sorry, I know I'm mispronouncing that, apologies. We have Shanine, great to see you. Mountain Peak 1, great to see you. Hala Gold, great to see you. Hattie, great to have you on. Wow, we're up to 300. Apologies, I won't be able to read out everyone's name. Katrina, I'll just got to go through some of the names I can see. Mark Ministerian, great to see you. Scottish Lass, great to have you on. We have Conservator, great to see you. Who else? Pete, great to see you. Captain Levince, FSM is the dog, and so many other. Apologies, I can't read out everyone's name. Valerio, great to see you. Did you watch my video, Max? Apologies, Valerio, I didn't see it. Let me just, I need to move this a little bit over. Should be able to see a bit better now. Apologies for that. I will check it out. I promise, Valerio. I will check it out after the stream. I promise. I did promise I'd watch it before, and I didn't. Honestly, I'm really up to my eyeballs in stuff offline, and I just managed to pop on from time to time on Discord and on Twitter whenever I can. And the schedule for making videos is quite tight as well, so you guys are probably seeing perhaps fewer videos than usual. That's going to be the case for another few weeks, but I'll get to that later. So so much to talk about tonight. Of course, the AstraZeneca situation, the EU situation with Northern Ireland, of course, which seems to be on the surface an absolute disaster for the EU, but maybe it's not actually the case after all. I want to read out a tweet from somebody on Twitter, which, yes, Boris triggered Article 16. So Article 16, okay, actually I think I'll jump to that first. Remember guys, if you want to hit me with a super chat, I'll read out your comment, and you can also support the channel by becoming a patron, and also by just sharing videos, liking and subscribing. I want to actually jump to that first. So there is this news, if people are not familiar with what's happening, is Article 16 is part of the Northern Ireland Protocol, and it allows either side to unilaterally suspend the protocol. Sorry, okay, the protocol can be suspended, but Article 16 actually allows you to suspend a very limited part of the protocol. So it's not to end the protocol completely. So there was some news some time ago, and I uploaded a video about it, where the DUP wanted to suspend the Northern Ireland Protocol by triggering Article 16. But Article 16 doesn't collapse the entire protocol. It only suspends part of the protocol for a limited amount of time. And unfortunately, the media seem to be pushing this this narrative that the EU have suspended Article 16, or suspended the protocol by triggering Article 16, but that's not really the case, and I'm going to get to this in a moment. Artemis, great to see you on the stream. I want to read this tweet from Irish Monka, I should be following him. I don't know why I'm not following him already. I saw this on Twitter. It's from about 2 hours ago. Shawneen, great to see you on. Thanks very much for that super chat. Great to have you on. Was going to ask about Article 16, but someone beat me to it. But here's a few Fredo bars on me. Thank you so much, Shawneen. Very kind of you. Thanks for that super chat. I'm going to explain Article 16 here by Irish Monk. So it says here, a crash course on Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol. I'll try and read your comments as I go through this. So number one, he says, it may be used unilaterally by either party to address a single issue of the temporary nature until the issue is resolved. It only addresses the single issue, so the rest of the protocol is protected and continues to function. So there is this idea that the European Union has suspended the Northern Ireland Protocol because of the vaccines. So there is this fear that vaccines could be sent to vaccines sent to Ireland could be brought to Northern Ireland and then smuggled into the UK, and this would be against this restriction that's been put in place by the EU to stop export of vaccines out of the EU, and it potentially runs into conflict with the Northern Ireland Protocol. The issue seems to be that the Irish government was not informed about this. But as far as I know, I don't know if the Irish government has come forward and said that they haven't been informed, or it's just the media are saying. It's very important to differentiate between the government saying something, a source saying something, and the media saying something. Because many times the media will say the government weren't informed, for example. Or many times the media will say a source within the government tells us that the government were not informed, as opposed to the government itself saying they were not informed. So I think it's very clear you have to be very clear on that. Anyway, it goes on to say the second part. This main issue is, the single issue is a possible export ban on vaccines in EU being exported to the detriment of EU citizens. So it's to stop vaccines being exported because there's a limited number of vaccines. As the export ban possible includes UK and Northern Ireland is essentially within the EU in some respects. Northern Ireland could import vaccines from the EU and pass it on to GP, thus making the export restriction ineffective. So Northern Ireland could receive these vaccines and then it could export them on. But we don't think that's going to happen. I think what happened here was that some bureaucrat in Brussels was not informed about the situation in Northern Ireland, or hadn't read the protocol, and triggered it, or by doing this triggered the protocol in a sense, and created this international diplomatic incident. Anyway, it goes on to say, part 3, Article 16 is there to protect the protocol. It does not. It does the opposite of suspending it. It allows a single issue resolution while ensuring the rest of the protocol to function. Sorry, it's the way people write on Twitter. They contract. They remove a lot of the words, and it makes it more difficult to read. So what's happening here is that the Article 16 is designed to protect the Northern Ireland Protocol. So it allows for parts of the protocol to be suspended for a limited amount of time until there's a resolution. And this seems to be what's happened here, is that part of the Article 16 is not confirmed fully, not confirmed hopefully. Diarmuid says, Max, they didn't inform the Irish government. Just watching the news here in Ireland, but the Irish government are getting it reversed. So I think what happened was, and look, I'm not defending the EU here, but I think probably and I said this on Twitter before I came on the stream, I said this is just a storm in a teacup. Somebody triggered it without knowing it. It's it's a bit like someone in a control room pressing a button and then hearing nothing and then hearing an explosion in a distance and going, oh, okay, I pressed the wrong button here. And I think this is probably what happened. It will be resolved. I'm pretty sure it's a case of the Irish government speaking to the European Commission and saying, look, can we get a way around this, because this is going to create problems, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be resolved. I'd be very surprised if it's not. Like, the EU is quite rigid, but if you look at how the pandemic was dealt with, the idea that, you know, Schengen was suspended in order to allow countries to put up borders, to restrict access, to end freedom of movement during the pandemic, I don't think it's a huge issue. James, great to have you on the stream. I hope you're well. Great to have you on. Might need to refer to you for some things, for some knowledge. So it goes on to, so he posts an image here of the some aspect of the the information about this situation. So it says the European Union has suspended the rapid development of production of several vaccines against COVID-19 with a total of 2.7 billion. Has supported the rapid development. Okay, what did I say? Suspended, supported. We want clarity on transactions and full transparency concerning the export of vaccines to from the EU, so out of the EU. In the future, all companies producing vaccines against COVID-19 in the EU will have to provide early notification whenever they want to export vaccines to third countries. Humanitarian deliveries are, of course, not affected. So humanitarian deliveries include Kosovo and, ironically, Vatican City. So Kosovo is included in for humanitarian, and also Iceland. Iceland is another country. I didn't know Iceland was covered for humanitarian reasons, but anyway. And the European Union will take any action required to protect its citizens and rights. So it goes on to say, and this is a very important point. P.S. I wish uninformed, knee-jerk Brit media and jingoistic anti-EU folk would calm the fuck down. There is a procedure, and this is the procedure of, if it opens, yes. So procedures referring to Article 16.3, where the Union or the United Kingdom is considering taking safeguard measures under Article 16 of this protocol, it shall without delay notify the Union and the United Kingdom, as the case may be, through the joint committee, and shall provide all relevant information. So basically, the problem here is that the UK was not informed, and the joint committee was not informed. It was not carried out through the joint committee. It was, in a sense, triggered. The Union and the UK shall immediately enter into consultations in the joint committee with a view of finding a commonly acceptable solution. And then it goes on. Okay, I'm not going to. The Union. Okay, basically, what the problem here is that the UK was not informed. The Irish government were not informed because they should be part of this joint committee as well. And I don't really see any real problem here. The media are blowing this out of proportion. And look, I said here, I said this is a distraction. But in another tweet, I said, look, this can be resolved with a telephone call. And as Irish Monk says, this is something that is. It's not destroying the protocol. It's an attempt. It's a protection measure for the protocol. I'm sure Brexiteers will understand. Yes, Brexiteers are losing their minds over this. They're like, oh look, the EU have thrown Ireland under a bus. They're throwing Northern Ireland under a bus. They undermine the Good Friday Agreement. This is a mechanism to allow you to suspend part of the Northern Ireland Protocol, and that's it. A hard border in Ireland is a problem, Max. Una. But this isn't going to impose a hard border. This is about a single issue, the issue of vaccines being exported. That's it. It's not. This isn't going to create a hard border. And also I think this is going to be something that's going to be resolved. The Irish government has said, look, it's not necessary to invoke this part of the protocol. We don't think it's necessary. The European Union will normally rely on Ireland for advice when it comes to Northern Ireland, and if the government in Ireland all they have to do is just convince the. So I'm reading some of the comments here. They just need to convince the EU, look, this is not an issue, and I'm pretty sure the EU will say, okay, well, let's make an exception on this. It's just there. The problem is that it's a bureaucratic problem. It's not an actual political problem. You know, the wheels have been set in motion. They need to be stopped, and new measures need to be put in to protect other things. It's to avoid it's to create a loophole, but in order to avoid the loophole creating other loopholes somewhere else. They don't want to just jump in and fix this immediately. I imagine they want to fix it, but not to create problems somewhere else, because if they fix this in the wrong way, it could create problems somewhere else. And I think this is really a storm in a teacup here. Max, the Irish government are saying that the other mechanisms to achieve there are other mechanisms to achieve the same results. There you go. So thanks for that, Diarmid. And I think the Irish government will convince the EU, the European Commission, to the EU Commission is entirely at fault, in my opinion. Yeah, no, I agree with you, no, the LC. They are. They messed up here. They triggered something without actually looking at the protocol. Now, the Brexiteers are using this as some sort of stick to beat the EU. And yes, they were wrong. But what's more important is that it's fixed. Everyone makes mistakes. Like I've been saying about Brexit, you know, people are suffering under Brexit. Boris Johnson should be trying to fix it, should be at the port, making sure that the problems of Brexit are resolved, but he's not. If the EU do nothing about this, I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to continue to talk about this. The EU messed up, okay? If there's any Brexiteers on the stream, I'm not a sycophant. The EU messed up. They should fix it. And I'm pretty sure they will fix it. It's within their power to fix it. I'm sure that they want to fix it, but they don't want to create another problem by fixing this. If they do fix it, they don't want to create other they don't want to have unforeseen consequences somewhere else. 2 vaccines made in the UK now. Great news. Let me just read some more of your comments. From Ireland, this was a mistake by the EU. They should have talked to Ireland first. Yes, they should have, Roisin. I agree. The EU messed up here. I'm not defending the EU at all here. I'm pretty sure somebody hadn't read the protocol and thought, yes, we'll do this. I think this is perhaps, you know, a problem that the EU faces because it's so big, because it's so bureaucratic. It's very easy for someone to think of a new rule or something, put it in place, and not actually understand that it's going to have an effect somewhere else. The Brexiteers said falsely, thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss, for that super chat. The Brexiteers said falsely, and only starting January 1st, that they always knew what was going to be the teething problems, the teething troubles. This is one of them. Like the Brexiteers, you know, said everything is going to be fine, and then as soon as the problems appeared, they were like, yeah, but we knew that there were going to be problems. No, you said there'd be no problems. You said there'd be substantial benefits and no issues. And that's one of the things I've been saying in the past as well. Max, have you not read the protocol? No, I haven't read the protocol. I've read this part of the protocol. The EU must know there are so many people watching. And I do... Look, the EU want to fix this, but I'm pretty sure they don't want to fix it too quickly in order that it would create other problems. This is not a PR... See, they're not into PR. I think you have to... where's Max wrong? You have to understand that the EU is not like a government. Governments will be, oh crap, we messed up. Quick, throw something, throw out a distraction to confuse the public, and then we try and fix this behind the scenes. The EU isn't like that. It's more like a technical government in a sense. They say, okay, we have this problem, let's try and fix it, but we're not going to do it quickly. We're going to do it like your video on Minford. We're going to do it slowly, make sure that it's done right. See, the government of a country would try and fix it quickly and then deal with the problem, the fallout later on. Okay, we'll create some other problem. Well, we don't care about that. The newspapers are buying for blood at the moment. Let's just fix this quickly. The EU is very technocratic. Yes, that's why in a way that the EU was not very good at selling itself during the Brexit referendum campaign. The EU is not about selling itself. It says, this is what we do, and that's it. There isn't propaganda or anything like that. Brexiteers will say the EU propaganda and the media promoting the EU propaganda. The EU is not about propaganda. It says, this is what we do, and that's it. While governments will try to convince people, to vote against their own interests and things like that. But anyway, so this is an issue. It's going to be probably going on for a number of days. The Irish government wanted sorted out immediately because it's looking very bad. But I'm thinking the European Commission. I'm looking at the chat. The European Commission is going to take its time and do it correctly and say, okay, if we're going to fix it, we're going to fix it in this way and make sure that it doesn't impact other aspects of this type of control that we're putting in place for vaccines. I hope that it's not a case of, well, we'll get to this other issue in a moment. Let me read some more of your comments. Fish are happy people in British waters. Isn't it interesting that, fish that swim into British waters become British fish? Immigrants who come into British waters are illegal immigrants and send them back. That's the Jacob Rees-Mogg approach. The EU hates corruption. Yes, that's why they are. They've added the channel. What was it? They added a number of islands to a blacklist. No more tax havens. The EU are angry. They're planning a coordinated response for vaccines. Amazing that only 7 days ago the DUP wanted to trigger Article 16. Now Eileen Foster calls it an act of aggression. Yes. It's like, I want to burn down your house. And you say, okay, I want to burn down my own house. How dare you do such a thing? The haunted pen size in Egypt. Oh, yes. That's because you eat immigrants, Max. At least not yet. You can't eat him. Sorry, you can't eat immigrants. That's Cthulhu. Yes. Which islands? Britain itself. Well, the Brexiteers want to turn the UK into a tax haven for sure. Can't they just add Northern Ireland to the humanitarian list like the Vatican? Or am I getting the wrong end of the problem? It's not as easy as that, I don't think. Eileen Foster is the actual definition of an act of aggression. The Eileen Foster and the DUP, just a side note, they were criticizing, they had spent years criticizing the Good Friday Agreement, and then as soon as Brexit was coming along and it was going the way they didn't want, they'd hold up the Good Friday Agreement and say, look, we must defend the Good Friday Agreement. We must have a border not in the Irish Sea but on the island of Ireland. And they voted against the Good Friday Agreement, but they were willing to use it. And of course, Article 16, they would say we need to suspend but they wanted to suspend the protocol, not just use Article 16 to suspend part of the protocol. They wanted to throw the entire thing out, which isn't the use of Article 16. Isn't the proper use of it. Brexiteers want to turn the UK into a caliphate. A gammon caliphate. A lot of kudos over to Graham, who's who's broadcasting from beyond the gammon curtain. From behind the gammon curtain. Did they read the Good Friday Agreement? No, they did not. They just know that they were against it. I've uploaded some videos. I don't know if you had seen them, Tom, but the ones where they were, campaigning for Brexit and then complaining about Brexit. Dump dead fish outside Moggs and Farage's house. I'm actually uploading a video tomorrow that should drop tomorrow morning about a woman who voted for Brexit. Now her business is in trouble. I don't understand why it's the red tape curtain. Well said, Katrina. I don't understand why so many small business owners don't organize a group, organize a protest. Okay, maybe not during COVID, but the gammon curtain is amazing. Organize a protest and march on Jacob Rees-Mogg's, one of his mansions, one of Boris Johnson's homes, one of Nigel Farage's many mansions as well. March on them, picket them. They told you that everything was going to be fine. They told you that anyone who criticized Brexit or raised any issue was Project Fear, was engaging in Project Fear. Protest outside their homes. Don't use any violence, but protest, peaceful protest. Remind them. Somerset Manor. I'm sure we can get an address. Anyway, let's move on. I'm sure we'll come back to this issue pretty soon. But look, I'm seeing it as pretty much a storm in a teacup. The media are trying to blow it all completely out of proportion. But the Irish government want it resolved quickly. The Brexiteers definitely don't want it resolved. And the European Union do want it resolved, but in the correct time frame. So I just want to jump to some positive news. Is this positive news? So Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine given full approval by EU regulator. So there was some earlier in the week, there were some issues regarding whether it was effective for people over the age of 65. There was a report carried out in Germany about whether it was actually effective, but it seems that the EU regulator seems to think that it's okay. Violence. Look, stop making fun of my accent, okay? The European Medicines Agency has authorized the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for use in all adult groups after days of doubt. A month after it received approval in the UK, the EU's regulator declared the vaccine safe for general use across the 27 member states. Now, let me be very clear here. If the UK took the risk a month ago and said, we're going to go with this vaccine, we're going to roll it out before the EU, and they're correct, then kudos. Well done. This is nothing to do with Brexit though, but if Boris Johnson and his government took a risk and the risk pays off, then well done. I'm going to say that. I'm going to be frank about this. I'm going to be honest about this. Well done to Boris Johnson and his government. On this rollout of the vaccine, they're the first. They are the leader in Europe at the moment. And well done. Now, I have a fear that... look, I'm not trying to be bad here, but I have a fear that this message will not age well because there are issues about whether this is most of the vaccines that have been used up have been for the first jab and not the complete first and second immunization. So there's no real Some people have received both, not everyone, and that there is a risk that the UK government has already running out before actually giving everyone the complete immunization, and this is a concern. But if that's not the case, then I would congratulate the UK government in being the first in Europe. I care about people being saved. I want people to be okay. And I don't care whether those people are in Germany or in Italy or in France or in the United Kingdom. I want everyone to be okay. You know, I'm a little bit different to Brexiteers. If it was the other way around, Brexiteers would be saying, how dare the French, you know, damn the French for leading. Or instead what they're doing is they're saying, we're number one, the other countries are crap. No. If you're leading, congratulations for that. Boris's dad had received 2 jabs. Who would have thunk it? That's a bit concerning, yes. Who is receiving the jabs? There was a story, I think, in Canada. Oh, I think it was in Canada, where some celebrities went there, paid. No, they went to, was it a Native American community, paid to jump the queue. Hopefully now they're going to go to prison over that. The idea that, yeah, I can just pay my way. In a pandemic, you either invest, nationalize. If you invest big. Pandemics 101. Well said. Orange flavored unicorns. People live, and health should always be above politics. I agree 100%. Yes, it was in Canada. I hang out at my GPs to mop up the leftovers at the end of the day. I assume that's a joke. Like, oh, there's a bit of a vaccine down there on the floor. Maybe I can put it in a pile. Boris needs 10 jabs. Boris's dad did not get many jabs, as many jabs as he deserves. They'll pay their way out of jail. Even in Canada. That's not nice. There's a new vaccine that only needs 1 dose, will be manufactured in north of England. That's good. Everything should be welcomed, okay? This isn't a competition. This should not be turned into something, you know, the EU is beating the UK, or the UK is beating the EU, or, you know, Europe is beating America, or America is beating someone else. This, you know, we're all you know, we should all be united in this. Like, the virus doesn't choose a side, okay? We should be on our side, and the virus is on its own side. Una, sorry, anyone who, if you're writing capital letters, the bot will delete your comments, so try not to write in capital letters. So I just saw, I saw a notification there, but it disappeared. Apologies, I didn't see where it went. Tell that to Alex Belfield. No, Alex Belfield, Alex Bellend, yes. My grandparents had their first jab. They've now been told that the next jab will be in 10 weeks. Daniel Slack. I'm very, look, I don't know, so maybe I'm not the right person to talk about this. Let me just move this over here. But I don't want, look, I don't know, but it seems like 10 weeks is a long time, because I've heard that it should be 3 weeks. Now, if you went 4 weeks, perhaps that's okay. 5 weeks, I don't know. 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks seems much too long of a wait. Because if the requirement is after 3 weeks, then the government should follow through with 3 weeks, not wait 10 weeks. Let me just go on. So it says here, the shot is the third COVID-19 vaccine given the green light by the EMA after ones made by Pfizer and Moderna. Both were authorized for all adults. There have been concerns that the lack of data about the effects of the vaccine on older people could put authorization for those aged over 65 in doubt. On Friday, Germany's Independent Vaccine Advisory Committee recommended that the shot only be given to people over 65. The committee, known by its German name STIKO, said that there currently isn't sufficient data to access the vaccine effectiveness from the age of 65. The final decision rests with the government, but it's likely to follow this advice. So it doesn't seem to be really an issue. It was maybe a concern. It's important that people raise concerns. It's not, it's not some sort of conspiracy or anything. It's they're here is the article I was telling you about. I can just read this quickly. I haven't read the article. I just heard something about it on Twitter. Canadian group who got vaccine meant for Indigenous people may face jail time. Been beating on the Welsh for being slow. It's lab. It's Labour. Thank you very much, FSM. Yes, the government, have been saying about how the Welsh government is. Oh, the Welsh are doing really slowly. They're not doing a great job attacking the Welsh government at every turn. Because it's the Labour Party. The Labour Party are in charge. Anyway, let's have a read of these very nice people. So it says Rodney and Karina Baker were served with court notice, said Yunkan Community Services Minister. So it says a millionaire Canadian couple who secretly travelled to a remote community to receive a coronavirus vaccine for vulnerable and elderly Indigenous residents may now face jail sentences for breaking public health rules. Now, what sort of person do you have to be to steal vaccines from elderly people? This is like, I know that these people are probably going to get recommended, recommended for a knighthood or something by Boris Johnson, perhaps. Jacob Rees-Mogg is probably, pleasuring himself to pictures of these. But anyway, casino executive Rodney Baker and his wife, Karina Baker, Karina, okay, whatever. And I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce this person's name correctly. They don't deserve it. An actor were widely condemned after it emerged that they had chartered a plane to a remote community in the Yunkan territory, where they posed as local motel employees to receive the vaccine. So they didn't even actually say, we're millionaires, give us the vaccine, here's a load of money. At least be honest about it. At least be honest in being an arsehole. Look, I'm a big friggin' arsehole. Here's some money. Give me a vaccine. They were fined $2,300. Okay. I've said this before. What is the point? So let's take a step back here, okay? If anyone on this stream, or if I went to do the same thing, and you were fined $1,800 or 2,300 Canadian dollars, that's a problem for you. For most people, that's a problem. It's an incentive not to do it. But if you're a friggin' millionaire, like $2,000, he probably spent 10 times that on the friggin' airplane, on chartering this friggin' airplane to get there. Like, who the hell also charters an airplane during a pandemic? How can you charter an airplane during a friggin' pandemic? What are the permissions to charter an airplane? Surely the Federal Aviation Authority in the United States, or whatever the Canadian one is, the Royal Canadian Aviation Authority, whatever. Do they not have, a requirement? Oh, you want to charter a plane? Oh, for what? Don't say, honey, don't say it's to steal vaccines from old people. It's not to steal vaccines from old people. It's to visit that wonderful culture. I want to experience that wonderful culture. Of course, maintaining social distancing and COVID rules. Yes, sir, you can have, just make sure that you wear your mask and you don't steal any vaccines from old people. Sure, I'm not going to steal vaccines. What sort of arsehole would steal vaccines from old people? Oh my god. Okay. So like $2,300. Like he probably spends that on friggin' alcohol, on a weekend. Anyway, But community leaders argued that the penalty would be insignificant for the wealthy couple. Baker resigned from his position as a casino executive on Sunday, but records show he made $45 million profit on stock options over the past 13 months. Throw the frigging cunt in jail. Sorry for my language, but, you know. Amid growing outrage, the Yunkin Community Services Minister announced on Wednesday that the couple's tickets had been stayed. That the couple's tickets had been stayed and that they had been served with a notice to appear in court. If convicted, they could serve up to 6 months in jail. 6 months in jail. Pff, I'd put them a bit longer in jail. Did they get the vaccine? It'd be funny if they went into prison. They didn't get the vaccine. They went into prison. And then it would be terrible, absolutely terrible if they got COVID. I don't want them to get COVID, okay? I want to be very clear about that. Don't want them to get it. I have to say I'm outraged about this, by this selfish behaviour. All of us Yunkiners are outraged. Minister John Stryker told reporters on Wednesday, I find it disturbing that people who would choose to put fellow Canadians at risk in this manner. Because they're massive cunts, that's why. Sorry, I'm using this language again, but it has to be said. These people have no respect for anyone else. Please reserve C-bombs for Farage. Yes, Global Twig. I will. Promise. I'm sorry. It's okay. It was a Irish word for cheat. Bastard. Bastard is okay. Okay, it's not going to offend too many people. These people are absolute bastards. The Bakers are each charged with failing to self-isolate for 14 days and failing to act in a manner consistent with their declaration upon arriving on Yunkin. Arriving in Yunkin, they were due to appear in the White Horse Court on the 4th of May. Yeah, look, we all know nothing is going to really happen to these people. They'll probably get a suspended sentence or something like that and a fine, and that'll be about it. Ministeri, thank you so much for that super chat. One day the poor will have nothing left to eat the rich. Why wait? Eat the rich now. Yes. I don't know. Which do you prefer, Ministerian? They are a bit skinny. They need to be fattened up a little bit. Okay, no more cannibalistic jokes. Okay, let's move on. EU leaves UK off exempt list for tighter vaccine export controls. So the UK has been left off a list of more than 120 countries exempt from tighter export restrictions on vaccines produced in the EU in the latest twist in the bloc's row with AstraZeneca over shortages of doses. Stella, somebody, the EU's health commissioner, said the bloc was not protecting itself against any specific country, but it is needed to ensure contracted pharmaceutical companies lived up to their promises. See, look, I'm not taking the side of AstraZeneca or these pharmaceutical companies, but I do think that who did Piers Morgan bash lately? I think it was the very good one was, well, the best I think was Matt Hancock. But the recent one was Coffey. What's her name? Teresa Coffey. She's the housing segment. Was it Department of Work and Pensions, I think. So he gave her a bit of a roasting. But I'm not defending the companies, but I think what the problem is that there's so much demand. The companies are trying to produce the vaccine as quickly as possible. They're having issues. They've made vague promises to the EU who said, look, we'll try our best, a best case scenario. So I'm not defending them, but I think they probably are under a huge amount of pressure, an unbelievable amount of pressure. And, if they make some mistakes, they're going to suffer the consequences of that. And if they make mistakes, they're not able to produce enough vaccines to meet the requirements. to meet the demand. So I understand that the EU want to restrict, because look, we have to remember that the EU is one thing. The EU is one thing. Member states are another thing. And member states are being held responsible for the vaccine by their citizens. If the citizens see, look, what the hell is going on here? We're part of the EU. We want you to you have to put pressure on the EU to get us our vaccines. And of course the EU is under pressure to deliver these vaccines. So the EU is passing, I don't want to say in the sense passing the buck, but they're putting more pressure, of course, on the pharmaceutical companies. The EU were slow in approving, now having to cover their arses. I think this is a legitimate problem with the EU. It moves very slowly. Now, moving slowly when you're dealing with a long, slow crisis is the correct approach. When it comes to financial issues, moving slowly is correctly. You don't want to take knee-jerk or react in a knee-jerk way and impose some sort of restriction or relax some sort of restriction that will have a consequence sometime later on in the future. The EU moves slowly because it has worked moving slowly. It's like a giant machine. Unfortunately, when it came to this pandemic, moving slowly was a problem, and trying to speed it up creates other problems. Does that mean that the EU should not exist? Of course not. The EU provides massive benefits to its members and the citizens within those member states. This has been a problem. Member states, I think, believed that it was better to wait for the EU to authorize these vaccines. The UK decided, no, we're going to go it alone. Once again, this is not a benefit of Brexit. It was just the EU the UK and other the UK wanted to act in a different way. They were free to do that. It was not a restriction of requirement of Brexit. But I think the member states said, no, we're going to follow the EU's guidelines, and maybe that was not the right approach. It might have been better for each country to go it alone. But I think if each country had gone it alone, you would see France fighting with Germany. You'd have Italy fighting with Austria, Spain fighting with France. All of these countries would be fighting over these vaccines. And you would have probably some sort of disaster where the price of the vaccines would double or triple per day, because each country would be fighting each other over these vaccines. And governments would be always afraid that their citizens would rebel because they don't have sufficient vaccines. So, Max, breaking news. Let me see if I can bring that up. Thanks very much for that, Killer. Says here, EU withdraws plans to control exports of coronavirus vaccines into Northern Ireland. There we go. Thanks very much for that, Killer. Well, look, I said before, it was a storm in a teacup. The EU has withdrawn its plans to control the export of COVID-19 vaccines into Northern Ireland, according to source. Brussels on Friday said, triggered Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol that forms part of the Brexit withdrawal deal. By doing so, the EU tried to stop Northern Ireland being used as a backdoor to move coronavirus vaccines from the bloc to the rest of the UK. But the move sparked anger amongst Northern Ireland politicians and was also criticised by Prime Minister Boris Johnson, of course. Stormont First Minister Arlene Foster described the move as an incredible act of hostility that puts a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland over the vaccine supply chain. The controversy comes amid EU row over. Okay, so look, the crisis is over. Okay. On Twitter, I said it was a storm in a teacup. It would be resolved. Someone would get on the phone and say, fix this, and it's been fixed. Okay? I know Brexiteers I don't want to say, or enjoying this moment, frantically enjoying this moment. But unfortunately for them, this moment was short-lived. It was thanks for that, Killer. So we now know that the crisis has been averted. But this issue of exports is still going to be an issue. Not so much for Northern Ireland, of course, but for the UK. As I said before, I hope it's sorted out. I hope, we can come to an agreement. Look, the enemy is the virus. The enemy is not the UK. The enemy is not the EU. We have to work together. We have to be able to create sufficient vaccines for all of us, including other countries in the world. We can't just close off our borders permanently. Other third world countries, Asia, these countries have to be able to get access to these vaccines as well, because these people will come into our country if they're not Killer. Yes. I didn't want to say it, but Killer has already said it. The gammons were doing what gammons do best. But we have to work together. This is something that affects the entire planet. We can't just say, close the border forever. I know Brexiteers would like to do that for other reasons, but it was just shot. It just shot across the bow. Yes, just a shot across the bow. Sorry. Okay, I want to move on. So just about the supplies, I just want to show you this video.
Well, it's ongoing and fast escalating, Kathy. This morning, Belgian authorities carried out an inspection of an AstraZeneca supplier plant about 20 miles outside of Brussels. And we know the European Commission has asked for further inspections of that site to take place, presumably to check on the the production problems that AstraZeneca is having there. Now, one of the key points of disagreements is also about what should happen to AstraZeneca vaccines manufactured here in the UK. Remember, the UK government signed a contract with AstraZeneca 3 months before the EU. However, the EU Commission believes that it is entitled to some of the vaccines manufactured here in the UK and that they are willing to publish their contract with AstraZeneca to prove that that is the case. And then most significantly, the EU is now looking at introducing export controls. So the way in which that would work is if you are a vaccine manufacturer in the EU, you would have to notify your country's authorities what you intend to export and who to. And if there is a shortage of that vaccine inside the EU, potentially your export could be blocked. So that could have an impact on, say, supplies of the Pfizer vaccine. So when the UK government says that our supply chains are absolutely fine, actually it's not clear that they can offer that guarantee.
Well, what of the German authorities coming to a decision on the AstraZeneca vaccine? There's movement on that too, isn't there?
Yeah, so official decision from the German regulator expected on that tomorrow. However, we've heard from the German Committee on Vaccines, who are recommending that because of insufficient data, the Oxford AstraZeneca...
Actually, this is... I'm sorry, apologies. This is from yesterday, so it's not actually up to date. Because things are moving so quickly. Let me move on to... Yes, I'll move on to this next topic. It's... At the moment, yes, apologies for that. This information is now out of date. We've moved on. Everything is moving so quickly. So basically, as we've heard, the vaccine has been approved across the European Union, but there is this issue of availability. So I want to show you.
What's the Desmond?
An old friend of mine, Sir Desmond Swayne. Now, Desmond is a bit of a character in the House of Commons, and he likes to suggest things like Boris Johnson is a dictator, but not for the reasons that most people think. Boris Johnson is a dictator because he wants to take away people's rights. He wants to stop people from, mingling in public. He wants people to wear a face mask. Can you imagine such a draconian measure? And Sir Desmond Swayne is in a bit of hot water at the moment because he's been doing interviews with anti-vaxxers and other such lunatics. And what he wants to do is I believe he wants to just inflate his own he wants to inflate his own ego, and he wants power. He understands that there are crazy people who are willing to follow him. The crazy people need a leader. And normally the leader of crazy people is not crazy. So I think Sir Desmond Swayne he's trying to create a cult, a cult following. People who worship him will allow him to lead them. Now, where he wants to lead them to, I'm not so sure. But he is in a bit of hot water over this. I think he should resign. He should be sacked, because he's undermining the government message to keep people safe. He's lending credence to these lunatics, these anti-vaxxers. Who are you calling crazy?
Can speak for himself. He joins me now live. Thank you very much indeed for being with me, Sir Desmond. I just want to ask you, first of all, whether you regret those 2 interviews which you gave to Save Our Rights UK and to Del Bigtree.
I certainly regret the fuss that they've caused and being at the centre of a...
So I regret the fuss that they caused. He doesn't regret the interviews, because he doesn't want to piss off the people he doesn't want to piss off his followers. So he'll use weasel language like, yeah, well, look, I'm sorry if people were offended. I'm sorry if it pissed off the public. But he's not going to apologize for doing the interviews.
Media storm, when I would much rather the focus of today's news being on AstraZeneca and its spat with the European Union.
Do you accept that you were wrong in what you said back in November to Save Our Rights UK? It seems to be a manageable risk, particularly as the figures have been manipulated. We're told there's a deathly, deadly pandemic proceeding at the moment. That is difficult to reconcile with intensive care units actually operating at typical occupation levels for the time of year, and us bouncing around at the typical level of deaths for the time of year. I mean,
you have to be very... Sir Desmond has to be very careful, because what he says in Parliament he can get away with. He can lie and cheat and be a charlatan in Parliament, but he can't do it on the media, on TV. He can't get away with that. So he has to be very careful what he says.
I mean, you were wrong, weren't you, as it turned out?
No, I think at the time, that was a legitimate point of view. I accept entirely that the situation has changed, and changed dramatically as a consequence of the new variant. But I think those were perfectly legitimate and widely held views at the time.
Yeah, but they were wrong, weren't they? I mean, even at the time, I think excess deaths were up 14% on normal, according to all the official statistics. And of course, now they're much higher than that. And whether you go by COVID-related deaths or indeed excess deaths, we're well over 100,000 now, aren't we? So you know, you were wrong then, and you accept that now, do you, with hindsight?
No. All these statistics can be presented in a number of ways. And seen in the round, the reality is that we've had 4 years in the last 5 that make up the 5-year average of relatively benign performance, certainly with flu being suppressed. And therefore, being within 15% of the 5-year average is not untypical if you look over the last
We're talking about 15%, not 5%.
Decade or so, you will see that years bop up and down to very significant.
It's actually worse than 15%, because people are maintaining social distancing, because people are wearing masks. Not everyone, but more people are wearing masks. We're actually suppressing the flu virus. So there are fewer people getting the flu virus because we're implementing these measures to deal with COVID. And that means that fewer people are getting the flu virus. We're pretty much keeping it under control. So that anyone who is like the people who are dying from COVID are probably even much higher than 15%. So what he's trying to say is, look, the average is like this, and he's ignoring what we've put in place to control the pandemic, control COVID, and instead he's trying to say that there's it's not that big of a change, but it's a massive change.
Extents.
Well, hang on, wait a minute. I mean, we're now above 15%. Are you not accepting that excess deaths due to COVID are above 100,000? Are you saying that is inaccurate?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what I have said in the House of Commons. I have complained about the way that statistics have been presented and information and data has been revealed.
Notice that he's not saying I'm saying that's wrong. He said, I have a problem with the statistics. It's not the actual number of people who've died. I'm not saying that those people have not died, because if I did, then I'm going to put myself into trouble. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge the statistics, not the actual numbers. The way that the statistics have been presented. That's what I'm going to challenge. That's what I'm going to have a problem with. I'm a weasel, okay? No offense to weasels, beautiful creatures, wonderful creatures. He's a slimy politician. He's saying one thing to one group of people and he's saying something different to another group of people. He's trying to cover his arse. When he's talking to these lunatics, he's speaking the language of the lunatics. When he's speaking to the public, he's trying to speak the language of a politician. He's a disgusting individual. He's a charlatan. I've covered him before. I've talked about him months ago. He talks about freedom and taking back control of people's rights. And when he was in Parliament, he voted to take away people's rights. He's a two-faced liar and a charlatan and a cheat. He doesn't deserve to be in Parliament. I don't know who the hell voted for this guy. Is it because he has a posh accent? Is it because he went to Eton or some private school? Public school, sorry. Is that the reason why people voted for him? Anyway, that's all I have to say about Desmond Swayne, because he shouldn't be in Parliament. Now, the Conservative Party are considering whether to kick him out or not, well, to take away the whip. I don't think they will. Unless he creates enough noise, then he will be removed. But he's not actually undermining the Conservative Party. He's undermining the government. He's undermining the government message. The government are trying to say, look, for people, you need to follow the rules. Doesn't Max rip them anymore? So, Tiny Demolition Lover, great to have you on. All of the above. He doesn't even sound smart. Really, I don't understand the attraction of these people. He's not on the side of the oppressed. He understands that there's a group of people stupid enough to believe in 5G and the vaccines contain microchips, and Bill Gates wants to control people with these microchips. He knows that these people need a leader, so he's presenting himself as their leader. He's probably trying to use this to improve his position in Parliament. Maybe he wants to become a minister someday. Minister for education, minister for health. No, I shouldn't joke, because probably somebody will decide to do that. JD, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. JD, I'm not sure why your super chat appeared 3 times. Thanks very much for that. But that's enough of Sir Desmond Swayne. Okay, guys, I want to just take a small break for a moment. If you're new to the stream, then I'll move on to Brexit and Scotland. But if you're new to the stream, great to have you on. Normally halfway through, we have our little funny moment. I'm not sure what is happening with JD's super chat. Anyway, let's have our little funny moment, and I'll be back with some serious business in a moment.
Piers Morgan calling for the Prime Minister to resign because we've reached 100,000 makes me sick. Why are people so mad about figures? New Zealand have 25, we have 100,000. Potato, potato. Piers, you make me so angry. I'm ashamed to have shared my I hate Meghan Markle, go back to where you came from haiku with you. There will be a time when the government will look back and say with Captain Hindsight, there are things they could have done differently, but that time is not now. It's like when I looked after my sister Jane's children, awful family, for an afternoon, and the little one wandered off when I left her in the garden for some alone time. I said to Jane, I take full responsibility. I did everything I could. But no, I won't discuss the reasons for why your daughter was picked up on the M25. Unharmed, I might add. Did I make a mistake? No, my approach is to do better every day that I can improve. And you can't improve on Jane's children. She's such a flip-flop, my sister. 1 week she's for me. Oh, they love you. Look after my children. The next week she's against me. Oh, she was missing for 3 days. She's only 3. Now she thinks the dual carriageway is her home and a used Coke can is her only friend. I personally was deeply moved by Boris looking deeply moved on the cover of my Daily Mail on Wednesday morning. He did everything he could, and as we have the highest death rate in the world, that means you didn't do everything you could. Some of that has to do with the age of our population, some of that has to do with the obesity of our population.
Oh, so it's because the population are too old and too fat.
How long have you been there? What are you doing here, Mummy?
Do you want a cup of tea?
Yes, in 5 minutes. But that's a very insulting thing for you to have said, actually, Mummy.
Oh.
Go away. Look, you're over 60. No one cares what you think anyway.
Okay.
Right, I've got a Zoom meeting now. We're doing Dominic Cummings' blog reading and we're looking at Operation Moonshot and how great it was. Bye!
Oh, look who appeared.
Where it's
So that was amazing, fantastic. I don't know what's happening with the super chats. They're gone a bit weird today. I hope JD's isn't sending hundreds of pounds. I hope I think it's just some sort of glitch. That I actually want to see more videos from that lady. So let's move on. So for the Scots, Boris Johnson was in Scotland recently, and he went to visit a vaccine facility to promote the union. Look, it's Memorial Week, okay? Of course, I'm watching videos about World War II and the Nazis, so don't get worried, FSM.
probably fair to say the whole politicisation of the pandemic has happened and gone up a scale as never before. On the one hand, you have the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, here in the Parliament in Holyrood this afternoon, threatening again to publish the confidential data supplied on COVID vaccines from the EU to the UK. And that flies in the face of a ban, of course, from Westminster to do just that. All this on...
Why would Westminster want to... I love my brick. Why would Westminster want to ban the issuing of vaccines to the UK? That's interesting.
On the very day when Boris Johnson is in Scotland, a man considered frankly toxic to so many Scottish voters, indeed considered by many and some senior Scottish Tories as well as something of a recruiting sergeant for the SNP's project on independence. So
Reagan Elite says Boris Johnson visits Scotland but won't visit Northern Ireland or Wales. I wonder why. Well, Wales perhaps not so bad. Northern Ireland, Boris is not very popular in Northern Ireland. Boris is probably less popular in Northern Ireland than in Scotland, if that's possible. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a little bit more popular in Northern Ireland, but it's probably somewhat, somewhere in the same area. Boris Johnson is the same, how can I say, the same number. Boris Johnson is as popular in Scotland as in Northern Ireland.
So two pretty high wire acts of considerable altitude, you have to say, going on in the same day in the central belt of Scotland.
Tricky territory. The Brexit Prime Minister in Glasgow
The man who delivered the independence most Scots didn't want.
But why does he do this? Peter, thank you so much for that super chat. Boris for a night test. But that's not Bernard Castle. Oh my god. But look, why does he do this? Look, it's insulting for the people around him. They're doing actual work and he's there just to mess it all up. You know, all of the preparation that has to take place for him to come in with all these people around him, his bodyguards and everyone. Anyway.
Now trying to stop the independence Scotland does want, if opinion polls are right. Today's tactic? Politicising the pandemic, instructing Scotland that COVID proves countries working in union will prevail.
Somebody on Twitter was asking, what is he doing here? And they said he's doing a DNA test for his kids. And I said, how many DNA tests?
Look at what's going on here. We've got fantastic effort being made by Scottish scientists, by Scottish vaccination operation to protect the whole of the country. It's the whole of the country. That's what people want. You've got the British Army working to protect the whole of the country. And well,
the British Army were brought in because there weren't enough staff. Like saying, look, we have the army doing this. Why? Because we don't have enough people. We've sent a lot of them back to the EU. Yeah, we don't want these people. We prefer to have the army do it. Like having the army do it. The army are great to do these things, but it's like you're using the army because you don't have the staff. That's not positive.
I think we should come together as a country, get through this pandemic and bounce back more strongly, and that's where our focus should be.
Visiting vaccination facilities, UK troops helping roll out an English vaccine. You see? Number 10, saying the UK government furloughs around 1 million Scottish jobs. And England's NHS handled a third of Scottish ambulance call-outs last weekend. But it's icy at the Scottish Parliament. First Minister saying today she'll now publish secret statistics on EU vaccine supply to the UK, regardless of Westminster trying to stop her.
Why would they want to stop her? What's wrong with transparency? Why does everything have to be secret? Why does it have to be secret? Like, I'd like to hear Boris Johnson's response to that. Oh, this is secret because this is important information that we don't want the public to know about. Once again, undermining public trust. You know, you want the public to be on your side. Then why are you hiding information from them? Stuart, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes sense if you don't. What is the reason behind this? Is perhaps because it's an absolute shambles. That's why you want to hide it. Because if it was the opposite, do you think Boris Johnson would be trying to hide this information?
I've said to my officials, actually, regardless of what they say, I think we'll just go back to publishing the actual supply figures from next week so that we all have transparency.
Holyrood also politicising the pandemic then, no doubt buoyed by pleasing mood music from the opinion polls. 20 opinion polls now show a solid trend here in favour of independence. And indeed, since the UK left the EU at the turn of the year, it's made no difference at all. The trend continues. Now, when it comes to...
Anonymous says he said it was a national security issue. But how is it a national security issue? It's a vaccine. It's not... it's not Trident. So it doesn't make sense that it's a national security issue, the number of vaccines that we have. How is that a national security issue? Like, he's been continually saying we have enough. But if having enough is a national security issue, then why would you tell the public we have enough when the actual numbers is a national security issue? I understand that you agree with me on this. Mark Sanders, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Thank you so much.
handling the pandemic, well, there's no comfort there for Boris Johnson either, because the polls show the vast majority of Scots do think Nicola Sturgeon has handled it well, and they think Boris Johnson has handled it badly.
Whatever Boris Johnson would like to be true, the brutal truth he has to recognise as a politician and try to deal with is that his government's successful pursuit of Brexit, that is the thing that at least has started the apparent rolling stone in favour of independence.
Night Raven, thank you so much for that super chat for the hamster vaccination fund. Thank you so much. I'll make sure they get it. But I can't tell you how many vaccines I have for the hamsters, because that's national security issue.
He has to recognise as
a so that Boris Johnson is is helping this rolling. Look, independence is coming. Boris Johnson can try and stand in the sea and you know, hold back the waves, but it's coming. He can't stop it. He can try and throw things in the way of independence, but if it doesn't come this year, it will be next year. If it's not next year, it will be the year after. But I think, as I've said in a number of videos, if Scotland want independence, if they want a referendum, they need to do it as soon as possible, because there is the momentum now. There is a risk that the longer you leave it, the less motivation there will be. And if Boris Johnson, because Boris Johnson could be removed from office and somebody else could be replaced, somebody else could be put in his way, in his position, sorry, who's more how can I say, better suited at reaching out to the Scottish people. I don't know if there's anyone in the cabinet who's capable of doing that, but you know, somebody could come along and undermine independence somewhat, because the independent supporters will not be swayed by, you know, anything that the Labour Party or Boris Johnson or anyone else has to say. But it's the public. The public are fickle. The public are easily swung one way or the other. We've seen that with Brexit. But I think when it comes to a referendum, there isn't a lot of support for the union. The people who will turn out and vote will be the ones who are passionate about they're passionate about whatever they're passionate about, and if it's on the independent side, they're passionate about independence. The union, I don't think there is a huge amount of passion for the union in Scotland. There are some people, but they are a very small number. There's a much larger number of people passionate about the union, and that's important to remember, because if turnout is small, I don't think turnout would be small, but I think if turnout is small, it favours independence. If turnout is big, it probably also favours independence. So the union is in trouble.
Politician and try to deal with is that it's his government's successful pursuit of Brexit that is the thing that at least has started the apparent rolling stone in favour of independence.
In the shadow of Arthur's seat in Edinburgh, the reception was mixed.
He's the Prime Minister, so I suppose he's got to be seen to be doing what he's doing.
So he's doing his job?
He's doing his job.
He shouldn't be travelling this far in a global pandemic.
It shouldn't be?
No.
But he's the Prime Minister, he's got to be out and about, he's got to run the UK.
But why can't he do it sitting at home like everyone else on Zoom?
Why can't he do it at home like everyone else on Zoom? But she's right. You know, is it really necessary for Boris Johnson to be in the laboratory meeting? No. He could do, like, he's not there to meet with the people to motivate them. You know, he's there, he's a distraction, actually. You know, if you're doing your job and Boris Johnson comes along, you're distracted. It makes more sense for him to do it from Westminster. But this is a propaganda campaign, okay? Boris needs to be there. Although it'd be interesting if he did a walkabout in maybe Glasgow or maybe not so much Edinburgh, but maybe Glasgow. It'd be interesting to see how the public react.
Nicola Sturgeon's definitely been leading Scotland,
I feel, if anything, Boris Johnson has been sabotaging what she's been doing. He's not welcome here as far as I'm concerned.
I would say he's the Prime Minister. He can do what he likes, really.
Here we go.
Downing.
Well, of course he can do what he likes. Nobody's stopping him from going to Scotland. It's whether it's the right thing for him to go to Scotland. Like, if Nicola Sturgeon came down to London, do you think people in London, in England, would be saying this is a good idea? Why is she down in London? Why can't she do her call or her meetings online like everyone else? Like, if Nicola Sturgeon was down in London, I'd be saying, why the hell is she down in London? That's not her job. She needs to stay where she is. Like, if there wasn't a pandemic, there's no problem with her going to London. But in a pandemic, she should stay where she is. Okay, the situation is different. Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Nicola Sturgeon is the First Minister of Scotland. But is it necessary for Boris Johnson to be going to this place? Look, he had to be brought there by military aircraft. Staff had to be taken off other duties to do that. These people working in this laboratory have to make changes for Boris Johnson to arrive. Is all of this necessary? And what is it for? Of course, it's for promotion of the union. But I think it's a lost cause.
Street insisted today's Central Belt tour from Glasgow to Livingston was a long-planned affair.
Yesterday in Scotland,
someone who knows a thing or two about such matters was left distinctly underwhelmed.
if I were Boris Johnson, I'd be talking to Nicola Sturgeon in an online summit today about what we could do better. And if I were Nicola Sturgeon, I'd be wanting to talk to Boris Johnson about furlough, about employment, about what's going to happen to the economy.
Conservator, thank you so much for that. Super chat, lead by example. For 547 watching and 245 likes, smash that like button, guys. You know what to do. Or tap that, that like button.
As well as our health. And this is just not happening. It's a standoff, it's a political row, it's a brinkmanship. It really isn't working.
Look, I know, look, I'm biased towards the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon, but look, what's the problem here? Boris Johnson is going to Scotland for what? For political reasons, for propaganda purposes. It's not that he cares about what's happening in this laboratory. It's not what he cares about what the army are doing. It's not because he cares about Scotland or cares about the United Kingdom. Obviously he doesn't. He only cares about himself. I understand that Gordon Brown is trying to attack both sides. The Tories are crap. The SNP are crap. Vote Labour. Red, thank you so much for that super chat. Evening Max. Desmond Swayne, the UK Swang, the UK wing of QAnon. The UK wing of QAnon. Yes, definitely agree 100%. He's an absolute lunatic. I hope he's kicked out. Unfortunately, I don't think he will. You're not biased, Max. Scotland were lied to. I'm English. I love my country. Nothing wrong with loving your country. It's actually a true patriot is critical of their country. I've criticized Nicola Sturgeon in the past. I said, you know, she should have been stricter with certain people within the party, tried to force people out. The one, for example, who broke the rules. Look, if a politician, it's okay to like a politician, it's okay to like a party, but it's important not to become a sycophant. It's important not to say this party always does everything right, that they're beyond any type of criticism. That's what politicians are for, and maybe some party members are for. They will do that. But us as on the outside, we must always be critical. We can like someone, we can support someone, but we must always hold them to account as well. And in a sense, hold them to a higher account because we believe that they're doing the right thing. That's what I said after Brexit. I said, the Brexiteers, now it's your turn. You have to hold Boris Johnson to account. You voted for him. You supported him. You wanted him to win. You won. Now it's your turn to hold him to account. We can't hold him to account. You have a better chance of doing that. And unfortunately, they just turned around and ignored everything he did. Mark Sanders, thank you so much for that super chat. After the plague came Renaissance. Scotland is being thrown is being browbeaten from planning for its own renaissance while still in the grip of a dreadful plague. Yes. Scotland is going to become independent. It's just a matter of time. And I think something beautiful I read once was, if you love something, you let it go free. You know, if you hold a butterfly in your hand, you'll kill it. But if you hold your hand out and the butterfly is free to land on your hand, that's showing respect for the butterfly. That's showing love. If the UK love Scotland, they will let it go free. And I've said before on this channel, if Scotland sometime in the future changes its mind, it should be free to have a referendum to rejoin the UK if it wanted to do that. What's the problem with that? This is what I would say to Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and the Tories. Shouldn't we support the Scottish people if they want to have a referendum, and also support them if they want to have another one 10, 15, 20 years in the future to rejoin the UK or rejoin England? Now, I know some Scottish people throwing something at the screen now, but isn't that a mark of respect, saying you're free to go, but you're also free to come back? I think that was something about the European Union. The European Union said to the UK, you're free to go. We're not going to keep you here. You can stay here. Boris Johnson eats butterflies for breakfast. Get him away from Scotland. Get away from... But it was something beautiful. They said, your star is here. It's waiting for you if you ever want to come back. How do Brexiteers respond to that? Brexiteers, Nigel Farage will respond by saying, we're never returning. We're gone forever. But Nigel Farage will never be... He's not immortal, I hope. He's not going to be around forever. Boris Johnson's not going to be around forever. As popular as Ian Paisley in Cork. So, you know, there is a possibility. I'm pretty sure that Scotland will vote for independence. There's also a possibility, nobody can tell. Nobody can know the future completely. There is a possibility sometime in the future Scotland may say we'd like to return to the Union. Europe will be different then. England will be different then. Boris Johnson, the Tories will not be around. But Nurse, Mr. has got out of bed again. He's talking piss. I'll shut up.
COVID certainly buys the UK government time. Nobody wants a referendum in a pandemic. But London will find it hard indeed to refuse Edinburgh a second referendum if the May Scottish election gives the SNP a renewed mandate.
Alex Thompson reporting. Well, now let's go live straight to Westminster and our political editor, Gary Gibbon. Gary.
You talked to strategists on the independent...
Thank you very much, Glasgow case. I'll stop my madness.
Independents and the pro-union side, and they agree on one thing. In Scotland at the moment, voters committed to the union amount to about 40% of the electorate, committed to independence another 40, and there are 20% who are in play for both sides potentially. Obviously, at the moment, according to all those polls, as Alex was quoting, that they're breaking for independence. But Michael Gove's been heard to say inside government that he thinks that vote is very soft, and that those voters at the moment are expressing a preference, not a passion. Talk to strategists on the independence side.
But he's wrong, because there is passion for independence. There isn't passion for the union. That's the best the government could do would be to try and dampen the passion for independence, because they're not able to put passion. They're not able to convince people to be passionate about the union. They're trying at the moment, saying stuff like, you know, think of the army, think of what the army. That's about it, really. Shavarts, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. You know, you can't motivate people to be passionate about the union. That's too late now. Oh my god! Oh god! An immortal Nigel Farage. My dreams will be dark. A Highlander. Max thinks I was talking about him. No. Actually, I thought you were talking about are you being sarcastic? Shani, thank you so much for that super chat. But there is this, yeah, we can convince, look, you can't convince people to be passionate about the union. That's gone. That boat has sailed. So instead what they're trying to do is they're trying to attack independence instead. Trying to water down, trying to convince. I think what's going to happen is as we get closer, they're going to start pumping out these messages. Oh, look, we have all these new benefits we're going to give to Scotland. You know, try to bribe the public with, you know, here's some extra money for this, here's some extra money for that. They'll try and throw some money at the problem, but I don't think that's going to work.
And they say, actually, those voters, they've been looking at them very carefully as well, of course, or it's harder to do it during lockdown. They think they're on a journey and they're not actually going to turn back. The Tory strategy at the moment, you can see from the Prime Minister's words, you heard in Alex's report, is to say to Scotland, now is not the time for an independence referendum. And there are an awful lot of people in Scotland who'd say, if you mean now, right this minute, well, yeah, of course, there's a pandemic going on. But independence strategists say, if Boris Johnson carries on saying that again and again as the pandemic recedes into the distance, he's in danger of turning a debate about independence into a debate about democracy and feeding what he would see as the nationalist beast.
I think he's right here. This idea... Tom, thank you so much for that super chat. After Brexit, Scotland has nothing left to lose. Yes. After Brexit sealed the deal. There's no coming back. And it would have been... like, if Boris Johnson and the Tories had been clever, they would have called the SNP's bluff and said, let's have the referendum now, but back last year. They should have said, let's have the referendum now. Now, there would have been a risk of them losing, but now it's even worse because people are starting to see the results of Brexit. The Scottish fishermen who voted for Brexit and probably would have voted for the Union, who probably voted no last time. Some of them, I imagine, would have voted no. What are they going to vote now? Some of them probably will still vote for the Conservative Party. Some of them are probably stupid and will continue to say, yeah, I'd still vote for Brexit, even though I can't sell my bloody fish. But I think a lot of them are reconsidering, because if the situation now is you're in a permanent state where you can't sell your fish. The SNP could go to these communities and say, look, you don't have to like us. You don't have to like Nicola Sturgeon. You don't even have to like the independence. But our way is the only way for you to be back selling your fish again to the EU. Because if you want to stay as you are, you're going to be stuck like this. You're going to have all this paperwork to fill out. If we rejoin the European Union, and you're not going to get it through the Tories are never going to rejoin. Keir Starmer isn't too happy about it either, isn't too enthusiastic about rejoining. If Scotland becomes independent, it can rejoin and you can start selling your fish again, like you did before. We would be turning back the clock. Now, may not be exactly like that, but I think you could sell that to them. And I'm not talking about lying to people like the Brexiteers did, but that's the best step forward. Because the alternative is to stay where you are and not be able to sell your fish and have your fish rotten in the port. Because this paperwork is not going to change. The only people who are going to change the paperwork are the EU, and they're not going to change. They have no intention of changing it at the moment. Andrew, thank you so much for that super chat. Most Brexit-loving Tories don't care if Scotland votes to leave the Union. I agree. I've seen comments on this channel and on other channels when it comes to Scotland, and there are two types of Brexiteers. The ones who are saying, well, you know, to hell with them, we don't want them, they're just a cost, they're a waste of money, Scotland, for example. And then you have the other ones who are like, we don't want them to leave because we need to punish them or something. Or, you know, we've cut off our own legs because of Brexit, well, we want them to suffer as well. It's the sort of Brexiteer mentality of, I'm not happy unless you're sad. And I think many of them treat Scotland in the same manner.
Another part of the Tory strategy, which isn't decided on yet, and that's whether to make a new offer to Scotland. The sort of stuff that Gordon Brown was talking about there in Alex's report. Do you say let's improve the UK rather than break it up? That is a very live debate, as I understand it, inside government at the moment.
But how? Not with the Tories. See, this is something, if Boris Johnson was kicked out and someone else was in place, you could probably try and sell it. It would be even much easier to sell if it wasn't the Conservative Party. But how can Boris Johnson promote, yeah, let's try and build the UK. Yeah, we're going to try and build the UK after destroying it. Yeah, the people who destroyed it, the people who burnt down your house, would you trust them to build you a new house? Would you? Would anyone trust Boris Johnson with the keys to their car? Would you, if Boris Johnson said, "Can I borrow your car?" Would you give him your car? You know, if you had a Tory visit your home, and would you leave your wallet on the table? Doesn't matter if they're, you know, a hedge fund manager. I wouldn't trust leaving my wallet on the table if Jacob Rees-Mogg came in. So why should Scotland trust these people? They threw them under a bus. I'm not saying that nobody excuse me, I'm not saying that nobody would trust them, but some people in Scotland are willing to trust the Tories after Scotland was thrown under a bus.
But we won't be getting any clarity on it this side of the Holyrood elections. They want the Tory campaign there to focus on the idea of no early referendum. Just another word about those 20% who they're both sides playing for at the moment. There is one other bit of
the brakes are broken.
Agreement between both sides on this. They tend to be made up of pretty socially liberal individuals. A lot of them would have voted Labour in 2017. And they, very interestingly, a lot of them say in focus groups they voted for the Union in 2014 because they didn't want disruption, didn't want risk. And now a lot of those voters identify the 2016 Brexit referendum and Boris Johnson and his style of government as extremely risky operations.
Like, you know, how can you get away from that? Boris Johnson and the Tories said, you know, if you vote to leave, you're going to be torn out of the... You're not going to be able to stay in the European Union. You'll have to rejoin the European Union. So they said, okay. And then what happened 2 years later? Torn out of the European Union by the Tories, by Nigel Farage, by Boris Johnson, without their consent. It's like somebody told you, look, don't sell your house because... If you sell your house, they're going to build a motorway through here. So you don't sell your house. And then 2 years later, the person who who told you not to sell your house sells your house while you're living in it, so a motorway can be built through. That's what the Tories basically are.
Gary Gibbon. Well, now, earlier I...
Okay, now I want to move on. Look, I think going forward... the independence movement are going to get stronger. The union movement is headed by Boris Johnson. I couldn't imagine anyone worse than Boris Johnson. Really, anyone worse. Maybe Jacob Rees-Mogg, but Jacob Rees-Mogg isn't as well known as Boris Johnson in Scotland, so it'd actually be better to have Jacob Rees-Mogg as the leader of the union movement in Scotland. I'm surprised they don't actually choose a Scot, but they decide, no, it's better to have an Englishman instead. Anyway, let's move on. Just about Brexit, and then we're getting close to the end of the stream tonight. So Brexit, of course, British business leaders warn of substantial difficulties at UK ports. This is from Friday, from today. It says leaders of Britain's 5 largest business groups have warned the government that firms face substantial difficulties at UK ports since Brexit, with the prospect of a significant loss of business if the situation is allowed to continue. And of course, the situation is going to be allowed to continue because the government aren't interested in fixing it. There's no motivation for them. Like, I was really surprised that on the 1st of January, there wasn't some sort of committee set up, some organization set up within the government to fix this. Get out there and try and fix this, or at least try and make up some sort of excuse for why these things are happening. Nothing happened. Businesses are suffering and the government don't give a flying F. Anyway, following a roundtable meeting on Thursday evening with Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove, a letter was issued by the CBI, the British Chamber of Commerce, the Manufacturers Group, Make UK, the Federation of Small Businesses, and the Institute of Directors. The letter said the government needed to act quickly to overcome the sizable obstacles faced by exporters. With hold-ups at UK ports worsening and many lorries making return journeys empty following difficulties obtaining customs certificates, the business group said ministers needed to act quickly. The letter was published after Gove appeared to play down the significance of the difficulties faced by businesses struggling to overcome customs barriers and what they described as a lack of coherent advice from government departments about new EU trading rules following Brexit. Look, these companies are suffering. They know what's happening. They wouldn't be inventing this. And what is Michael Gove's response? Yeah, it's not really a problem. Nothing really to worry about. Maurice, thank you so much for that super chat. I'm a German and I went to an English boarding school. Can you explain me why Brexiteers think I would ever return and therefore advance the economy? They actually don't want you to return. They would prefer you to stay in Germany. See, this is something the Brexiteers and the right wing don't seem to understand. Immigrants add a huge amount to the economy, to society. But let's park society for a moment, just the economy. To grow, to educate someone from the age of 0 to 18 costs a huge amount of money. Costs the taxpayer a huge amount of money, right? If this person comes into your country over the age of 18, their home country has taken the hit, has taken the financial hit to develop the education of that person. You reap the benefits. If you have people coming in highly trained, highly skilled, you haven't paid for their education. Some other country has paid for that education, so you benefit from that. Brexiteers and the right wing seem to think the opposite. It's like, oh, we don't want these people coming in. Why? Because, well, they speak a different language. They look a little bit different. They have a different colored skin. They have a different culture. They have a different religion. We don't want that. And as a consequence, the economy suffers because instead the government have to invest more money in the local, the national, the citizens of the country. And this is a cost for them. And then the best people from that country leave. The brain drain is a huge problem. And the economies that are more open to allow people in are benefiting from that. The Brexiteers and the hard right in the UK want to turn the UK into a poorer nation. The unknown is unknown. Starmer, thank you very much for that super chat. Starmer is a Boris wannabe. Just found out today Starmer is looking for rich donors for Labour Party. I think Labour at the moment are suffering a number of problems. At the moment they're losing support. They're losing their support base, and they need money to maintain the party, need to campaign in the future. They need to build up a war chest. And Starmer, instead of focusing on individual donations and maybe donations from labour unions, workers' unions, trade unions, is instead reaching out to donors. And I think that is problematic. It is, I think, to play devil's advocate, they would say, well, look, the Tories have all their private donors. We need our own private donors because we can't compete. this shouldn't be the way you run politics. Political parties should be publicly funded. They have their funding. There is a very nice idea in the United States. I know I'm getting a bit off topic here, but there is a very nice idea in the United States, the idea of citizens' dollars. I think it was introduced by Andrew Yang. He introduced the idea. It's not a new idea, but it has been around for a while. It has been around for a while, but he reintroduced it recently. Where he's talking about citizens would receive, for example, you would receive $20 per year that you could only spend on a political party. So you could donate this money to a political party in order for them to conduct their campaigns. Good night, Joe. Say Joe is off. Good night, Joe. Thanks for coming. So I think this is a very good way of, so political parties should be publicly funded. They should not rely on donations from the public, donations from, I wasn't going to say UBI, donations from private individuals. This is unacceptable. Political parties should serve the public. They shouldn't serve private individuals or corporations or big businesses. Political parties should be publicly funded. They should have their funding from the taxpayer, and they should spend the money that way, and that's it. They can't spend it on other things. It must be spent on campaigning, and that's it. In the same way that citizens are given a certain amount of dollars or euros or pounds per year to spend on a political campaign. So I can say, look, there's a small party, I would like to give them a donation, and I can do that. UBI for another night. I am actually considering doing a discussion on UBI with Graham Hughes that I had a conversation with, very friendly conversation with recently. Anyway, the letter goes on to say that Gove said after the meeting, which business leaders believed was private, it is understood that some businesses were facing challenges with specific aspects of the new trading relationship with the EU. He added, I want to let them know that we will pull out all the stops to help them adjust, which means no, we're not. We're not going to do anything. The business group said a range of problems were discussed, including substantial difficulties faced by firms adapting to the new customs processes, sizable obstacles to moving goods through the Dover-Calais route, and the shortage of informed advice from both government and the specialist advisors, alongside a number of others. Tom, thank you so much for that super chat. There now follows a party political broadcast by the Hamster UBI party. Yes, I promise I will do a discussion with Graham on UBI. Okay, you can hold me to account on that. You can hold my feet to the fire if I don't. Invite Janie Goodley on next. I will. If she'd come, I'd love to have her on. He added, I want to let them know that we'll put out the business group said sorry, I talked about that. They wanted a grace period agreed with the EU. So this is something that could help the businesses. A grace period. They warned that grace periods agreed with the EU would expire over the next 2 months, at a time when cross-border traffic, which is usually low in January, was due to grow. Unless measures were put in place to smooth customs procedures, the situation would deteriorate, they said. See, the problem also at the moment is that goods coming into the UK are not being checked. That's the problem. That means that the exchequer is losing money. That can't go on forever. So it needs to be put in place. But that means you need to have more staff. You need to have better systems in place. But there isn't the money for that. They don't have the staff. Of course, the Brexiteers in the government said, yeah, we can do X, Y, and Z coming up to Brexit. And then once Brexit came into being, they were like, oh, okay, let's just forget about it now. Because hiring people takes time, takes money, and the Tories don't want to spend money on that. Because there's no return. You have to consider, the Tories only want to spend money on things that they can get in return. So they'll give money to Dido Harding because they're going to get something back from her. she has done something for the party. They'll hand out contracts for PPE to their friends because their friends are going to donate to the party or donate to them personally. Hiring staff for the customs offices is not something they can get a return on, so they don't care about that. Anyway, guys, we're almost at the end of the stream, so let's see how... I think so there has been some good news tonight about the... And I want to say thanks to Killer for that. So the issue with Northern Ireland seems to have been resolved. The EU and the EU and the Republic of Ireland have had their chat. Probably was an interesting phone call, but it has been fixed, we can say, for now anyway, unless something else comes along. So I want to say a massive thank you to, but don't go, remember we have our one for the road. So I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come on the stream tonight. I think we're over 600 tonight. That was amazing. I'm planning some live streams over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll be able to have someone maybe even next week. I'll give you some more information about that maybe next Tuesday. And anything else? Yeah, there may be something, not at the moment, but maybe later on in the year. Myself and Graham and some others may be preparing something, but I'll give you some more information on that maybe as it progresses. At the moment, it's just a thought, but it could be something that could become permanent during the day. That's all I can say at the moment. I don't want to give away too much at the moment because it's still early days. But I want to say a big thank you again to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated as always. Thank you so much for those. And also thank you to the moderators who always do a fantastic job keeping everything running smoothly, keeping out the trolls. We're always getting more and more trolls. I don't know why that's the case. I think it's something that goes with the territory. So let's, without further ado, let's get to our funny video for tonight. Oops, I didn't click that right. One moment. Here we go.
Hello? Boris? Hiya. How did your visit to Scotland go? Did Miss Mona Lot have a go at you? What the fuck is it with big Victorian haunted pencil re-smog calling women names? No, everybody love it. I told you to come up. We all love you up here. No, I never had a sign. I stayed in a house, abided by the rules. Did you get a nice welcome? Did you have a wee fridge near home just in case you had to jump in? It's just a joke, calm down. Oh, that's lovely. I'm so glad everybody made you feel welcome. Did you shake hands with anybody? Did you comb your hair? Well, Boris, I hope you had a lovely time in Scotland. And every time you come up here, the case for independence gets stronger. I don't know what it is you're doing. I think you're secretly doing PR for them. Well, look after yourself. Aye, look after yourself. Make sure you get kept warm. It's cold out there, it's freezing. Put some wee socks on your shoes so you don't slip in the ice. My granny told me that. Right. How's your fiancé? Yeah, her. Aye, how's she? Great. And the wedding? Right. I need to go. My wee dog's needing the toilet. Speak to you later. Bye.
Very good. As always. So guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you all next time on next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. 9:30 Greenwich Mean Time. So have a great weekend, and as always, stay safe, stay away from too many people, and always wear your mask, and as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. Good night, guys. See you soon. Take care.